How could you? At what point in your life did you choose you?
No, that's a good question. I would say I still haven't. Um,
Almost pushing 50. You haven't chose yourself yet.
no, I definitely haven't. It's a fault of mine. You know,
Yeah, some of that is upbringing, but where did this come from?
I don't know. You know, everybody always tells me you're the man. You got to tell everybody that you're the man. It's not me, man. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the guy on the internet, self promoting and stuff. Hey, I'm Real Scout. I run events, and when I run events, I don't even talk to the kids. Everybody else talks to the kids,
Hmm.
and it benefits me, but people don't understand how it benefits me. The way it benefits me is that now that people just see me walking around with an iPhone and they don't know who I am,
Hmm.
the kids are more likely to talk to each other around me. I don't
Now
want to
I
say
ain't gonna lie. I think one
eavesdrop.
one of my first impressions, I'm like, cause I always saw the posts, but I'm
Uh
like, yo, where is this guy? Like,
huh.
where? That was one of my first impressions of the Real Scout page and platform. I always saw the post, but never knew who was behind it.
Yeah, that page started by accident, and shout out to Jaden Edwards and a bunch of other people. Rose at Millbank, Coach Rose from the Eagle.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sway reporting live 101 sit downs. We back with another one. Last episode we had the young goat, young phenom, Mellow Films. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that one. Um, it seems to be another trend. I already told you guys a few pods ago that I'm getting into the media space, the people that are behind the camera, the people that are behind some of the scouting. If you're catching my drift right now, um, everybody can't come up here. That is a new tagline I have created. Everybody cannot sit in the seat. Just because I want to keep the seat special. And like I always say in my podcast, every one of my guests are special. And we have a very special guest. I am not going to introduce him. He should be the one to introduce himself. Like he told me off camera, he only does one of these like once every 10 years. So now I give the floor to our very esteemed guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Nate Bloom, Queens, New York, also known as Rail Scout.
Yes, sir. The one and only Nate Blue.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for even considering my platform. I know this was a little bit long overdue. I wanted to make sure I did my homework first before we got things kicked off. First and foremost, guys, if it seems like we're in a different spot, we are. Same space, just different spot. We got to get it by any means necessary. So, Queens born and raised.
Yes, born and raised in Corona, Queens.
Queens get the money.
Always.
So, talk about how you grew up in Queens. What was it like? I know how I grew up in Brooklyn, but we have a time gap between us.
Hmm.
I'm 27. You're around
47.
47. So there's a time gap there. So talk about how you grew up in Corona, Queens.
Well, basically, I grew up with in one of those crazy households. Uh, I think we had something like a family in each. We lived in a house, but there was a family in each house.
Hmm.
Meaning, I think my grandmother had something like 12 children.
Really? My
So
grandmother had about eight or seven, if I can remember
yeah,
properly.
so it was one of those situations where there was a lot of cousins running around the house and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I grew up, out on the street, inside before the street light came on and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And it was good. It was a good time. I played a lot of baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah,
I see. I see I was gonna get to that. The New York
yeah,
Mets. You got to stay loyal to the soil.
yeah. And
I don't like how
I
y'all got
actually,
Juan Soto from us this year, but it's a different
oh,
story.
don't worry, man. Listen. Yeah, I mean, grew up a Mets fan, but the craziest thing about it is that I lived about 12 blocks away from Shea Stadium, which is City
That's
Field now,
fire. That's
and
fire.
I went to every game that I possibly could go to.
On the quick New York Yankees, New York Mets tip, how was it seeing the old renowned stadiums that have been there for decades get torn down and remade into City Field, what is now, and then the new Yankee Stadium in the Bronx?
Yeah, I can honestly tell you, I've never been to City Field.
Is that intentional?
Yes,
Okay, talk to
I'm
me. Tell us.
real big on Shea Stadium because what happened is that we were poor, but growing up, like I said, what I used to do is I would take the train about two or three train stops,
Mm,
and the way it used to work is that um, from the train station, you can see right field. So you didn't have to go into the game to see the Mets game. So what a whole bunch of kids used to do is we would go. I'm sounding very old, but we would really go, and you don't have to get off the train. There was like a platform, and you could stand on the platform and watch the game perfectly from right field.
Hmm.
And then what would happen is around the sixth inning, all the ticket scalpers would come to all the kids and give us free tickets. So
Because
then
they didn't make any enough.
they
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
once they gave us the tickets, now I go from
that's nostalgia.
outside the stadium to inside the stadium, and it was a good time. It's crazy. 1 minute you're in right field,
Hmm.
and next thing you know, you're like right
Section
over the
100.
dugout. Yeah, like it's unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
in terms of that, it seems like was baseball your first love? Your first?
Yeah, baseball was how I met a lot of friends. We played in the league in our neighborhood. It's actually Elm Corps, which
Hmm.
stands for Elmhurst and Corona. A lot of people don't know that's the first
I
three
didn't know that.
letters.
Or
Yeah, and they have the gym that they, a gym that they have in Corona, Queens. But basically, back then, you paid about $35 as a solo player,
hmm.
and they will put you. They would have a draft and everything, and people from the community will volunteer, and you'd be on a team. So baseball is my first love because that's what everybody was playing at that age, which is I would say around 9, 10, 11 years old, little league.
So where'd you go to high school?
I went to Newtown High School.
Okay.
Newtown High School is right by Queens Center Mall. It used to be one of the New York City like powerhouse
Powerhouse
schools.
schools. Okay.
Uh, you know, they they were a school that they would get a lot of different ethnicities there. It was one of the schools that you would get a lot of minority kids from different neighborhoods, and it was a real good time going to Newtown.
Newtown. Was Newtown a place where you found your love for basketball at any point, or where did try to navigate where we got there?
Yeah, what happened was in the ninth grade, I started realizing that not a lot of people play baseball.
Mm.
Like my friends weren't playing baseball anymore. It wasn't even everybody was playing basketball. It just came to the fact of like you want to work out on your game, but you can't because in baseball you need a certain amount of people to go to the park with.
Hmm.
Whereas in basketball it was more of you can just get a ball.
And just
I
go.
learned the rules and just go. So start to get that love for it. My first year in the ninth grade, I got cut from JV. I didn't really understand the game. But 10th grade, I made junior varsity, which was real big back then because like our junior varsity team, we had like 6, 7 front line. You don't see things like that
Yeah.
anymore. So, and then junior year, I got cut from varsity, and that was more of an academic thing.
Okay.
And then senior year, we had a new coach, and I basically came in the senior year like, yo, what can I lose? And I ended up making the varsity team, which was a great accomplishment.
So who was your favorite player growing up playing basketball when you started to gravitate towards the game?
It's gonna sound weird, but it was actually
Talk to me.
it was actually John Starks.
Ooh.
I'm a very big John Starks fan.
It's funny. Do you have a Caribbean background at all?
No.
Okay. I only asked that because my parents, who are Jamaican, when they immigrated here in the 80s and started picking up basketball in the 90s and watching New York Knicks basketball, they love Starks, but then they hate him at the same time. So that's why I asked that. So talk to me about your love for John Starks and how, as you watched him, you stayed loyal to him in terms of
Yeah,
fandom.
John Starks is he embodies what New York is about. He basically was like a bench warmer, a guy on a 10-day contract in today's terms. And, he was actually known for bagging groceries. He worked in a supermarket.
I ain't know this.
And then next year, he's on the Knicks starting and marching us to the finals and stuff like that. Even though, we weren't able to win a championship with him, you know, it was every kid's dream to just be, from the bottom to the top. So that was definitely a guy that I followed throughout his Knick career, and he actually owns an auto shop that's somewhere by my house called John Stark Auto.
That's actually a full circle moment. I won't even
Yeah, I
lie
know.
to you.
It's kind of crazy, right?
So we go there and we get to Kingsborough College.
Yeah, Kingsborough. I wasn't really great in basketball. I was good. In today's terms, I probably would have been really good. But
Oh, really?
yeah, back then, ball was a little different. You know, I grew up with like Lamar Odom,
Mm-hmm.
Speedy Claxton, Ron Artest, like
Mm-hmm.
guys that really made it to the NBA. And what ended up happening is I ended up in Kingsborough Community College, but going from Queens, it was very far.
Yeah,
It was
Kingsborough's. That's in. Wait, hold on. That's in
Brighton Beach,
Yeah,
Brighton
Coney.
Beach.
That's
Yeah,
right over
it's
there.
far.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
far.
yeah, yeah.
So it got to the point when I had classes where if I had an 8 a.m. class, if I wasn't on the train by 6, I was automatically late. So I would, get on the train and say 6:15, 6:20. I know I'm not going to make my first class. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really do Kingsborough. I didn't think about going somewhere local, which I probably should have thought of. And I ended up gravitating back towards Newtown High School and becoming an assistant coach.
So from there, it. I want to fast forward back to right now. From that moment of you getting to Newtown
Mm-hmm.
as an assistant coach, volunteer coach, we have 30 plus years of grinding experience,
Mm-hmm.
navigating the industry. Um, Before we keep going on the rewind, why has it now been a time where for you feel like you can come back and speak your story again? I know sometimes stories get ruffled in the amount of different New York City stories specifically, but
Mm-hmm.
why did you think now was the time for you to come back and tell some of your story, some of your truth?
I think mostly because, being honest, I see a lot of people. I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible.
Hey man, if you don't have a nice way to say it, by all means, you feel me? You could cuss here, it's fine. But I see where you're
No,
going.
I think it was, it's always time to, tell your truth and let the kids know, what's really going to benefit them in life. Um, there's a lot of people that are in basketball, not only in New York, but, in other places, who are mostly promoting themselves and about themselves. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, a lot of parents and kids really need to be aware of, just it's like the carrot. I was listening to somebody and they said, even when it comes to trainers, not all trainers, but some trainers,
Mm-hmm.
they show you the trick shots, they show you this and they show you that.
All these different combination dribbles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but none of it's ever going to work. It's mostly just to get your money, to get you paying per hour. And, I just really want to see New York City and anybody that comes across this video, I want them to, understand that, it's okay to just work on your game and you don't always have to be a part of something. You can just stay true to yourself.
Walk your own path.
Exactly.
So let's get back to the path, right? So we get to Newtown. You went to high school there, and then you come back there as an assistant coach. Some people, at least in this day and age, I remember when I was in high school, I didn't even think about going back to my old high school once I left to do anything with them.
Yeah.
That could be a generational thing, but why decide to go back to your high school?
Well, I ended up going back because most of the guys that were on the team with me my senior year were younger.
Mm,
So I ended up just going back and hanging out. So when I was hanging out, the coach asked me, he said, "Hey, do you want to be assistant coach?" I was like, "Nah, I don't really coach or anything like that. I'm going to go back to college. I'll just pick another college." And then I just ended up hanging out with the guys. And next year, we went 24-0. We were in the top division in public school. We went 24-0, and we ended up going to Madison Square Garden and playing for the PSAL title. And we ended up losing to Paul Robeson, which was a real good team back then. They had about 5 or 6 Division One players.
This is before Mr. G ever gets there.
Exactly.
But,
This was when they had a guy named Alan Griffin, Phil Grant.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Phil Grant, man.
Yeah, Phil Grant. Man. Phil Grant he's a legend, man. Phil Grant. They had another kid named Kenyatta Brown, but they had Dwayne Archibald. He ended up
another one. Yeah.
going. Yeah, they had some guys. So, we were just more of of like a rough, like the bad news bears of basketball. So
High school's version of the Bad Boys, I guess, or
yeah,
New York's version. We could go there a
yeah,
little bit.
we would just, we weren't happy to be there. We actually thought we could win, but we didn't stand a chance against those guys. And then what ended up happening is I figured I'd get out of coaching, and then somebody brought up Smush Parker to me as a ninth grader and said this kid wants to come to Newtown High School, and then then it kept going.
See, that part of my research I didn't get to. So how you were able to not talk, but
I coached
mentor,
Smush.
coach Smush
I was his high school coach.
all 4 years.
Smush only played his senior year.
Senior year. Okay. So
Yeah.
what was that like before we get into some of the other intricacies of your young and early coaching career?
Yeah, Smush was he was at a school called Washington Irving.
Mm-hmm.
He played JV there, and then he transferred over to Newtown. When he transferred over with us, sophomore and junior year, he didn't play, more for eligibility reasons. And always a great kid, man. One of the greatest players I've ever coached, and he's a good kid too. Got a bad rep back then, but his senior year was spectacular. He got eligible, and he had like one of those memorable senior years. And his senior year was actually the first year that we brought in Charlie Villanueva. So that's how that.
Damn, we transitioning really nicely.
Yeah, it went. That's how smooth it went. Smush used to be with me almost every day.
What year into? Forgive me if I overlooked it just now, but what year into your coaching that you ended up getting with Smush, and then was that year 2, 3?
That was my end of my first year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, wow. I got lucky.
Okay.
And then what ended up happening is that Smush started when the senior year came up, he started to get in the camps like ABCD and stuff like that, and that's how I ended up
getting it with them.
Yeah, because I was like more piggybacking, watching Smush play as his assistant coach on varsity, and then that's how I started to meet like Kenny Satterfield and guys like that.
So okay, so then now we get from that. Let's go into Charlie Villanueva, because I feel like this is where I guess certain things start to take off for you.
Yeah.
You make a connection with him at Newtown. How was he starting out, and how were you able to potentially help mold his game or progress him into the person he is right now, or the basketball player that he was able to get drafted into, I guess you could say.
Sometimes when you look back at that stuff, you stay real humble on it, but Charlie, we're really close in age.
Yeah, 6 years apart. I was able to
we're very close in age. So I met him when he was 12 and I was 18. A bunch of kids in the neighborhood asked me if I can coach their team because they were playing in a tournament, sort of like that baseball tournament I was talking about earlier, where they had these individual players, but a league wouldn't allow them to play without a coach. So they knew I was coaching. They're like, "Hey, can you coach us?" I was like, "Oh God, come on, man! Like, I'm trying to get back to hooping."
Because you still,
I'm still in it and
still fighting them.
Yeah, I'm like 5'10", 155 pounds. I'm trying to hoop. But what ended up happening is that I told them, I said, "Okay, if you guys want me to coach you, show up Saturday to the park." And it was summertime.
Yeah.
I said, "Show up Saturday to the park and bring everybody there at 9 o'clock in the morning." I figured the kids wouldn't show up. I get there 8:45. They're already warming up, playing around. I'm like, "Oh, these kids are serious." And they said, "Yeah, we're just waiting for 2 more guys." And it ended up being Charlie and his brother Robert, who's 2 years older than him. And they came in. I didn't really know how old Charlie was, but I saw it at that moment. Like, I started putting the kids out on the court, running them through drills. And I told Charlie, I said, "How old are you?" And he said, 12. I was like, "You're kind of big for 12."
When you start to put things together.
Yeah, I said, "Isn't this kid kind of like big for 12? Like, I didn't really know it like that. And as time went on, I just kept working with him. I honestly tried to give him to everybody. I called Christ the King. I called different people, and I told them, I said, "Look, I got a kid. He can play. He's 12, 13 years old, but I don't know what to do with him. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be at this Newtown High School thing. I'm I'm trying to move forward in life. I'm 18, 19 years old, and everybody saw him and they didn't like him. So I kind of like got stuck with him. But then he was such a good kid. It's not like I'm stuck with him.
Yeah,
Like
you
it's
have
my
you have
man.
a great talent, and that's your man's.
Exactly. So as time went on, we would work every day, and him and his brother and myself. And once you start having a kid like Charlie, other kids start gravitating towards him, and then next I'm running around with a whole
With a whole prospect.
yeah. It happened crazy. So having him in Newtown was great. Um, his first year he didn't really do too much because that was Smush's year, but his sophomore year he really took off.
Okay.
He grew from 6'3" to about 6'7", and was still playing the point guard position that we had worked on. And he was just talented beyond belief.
When you I kind of see a similarity between you, Mello, and even Justin at some point.
I coached Justin.
Another gem.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's my
he'd
guy.
he'd even tell me that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But what I also realized with all three of you, the similarity is that you guys y'all dibbled and dabbled in coaching. Of course, Mello didn't end up becoming a coach, but more so you and Justin mentoring side, coaching side, training side. You guys got into this early out of high school. So when you ended up touching with these kids, connecting with these kids, you guys are still relatively close in age.
Exactly.
How much do you think that was an advantage for you in terms of reaching the kids, training, having them understand that what you're saying is the right thing?
Looking back at it, it was a huge advantage, but it also could have not worked if I didn't know what I was talking about, right? I had mentors above me, people that helped me out. When they saw that I had that type of influence. There was a guy named Rodney Parker. He's a New York City legend. He passed away, but he actually has a movie and a book written about him. The book is called Heaven is a Playground, and the movie's called Heaven is a Playground. And he was a Brooklyn native that would just go around, find kids in the park, and bring colleges to the park. Back when they didn't have live period and dead period, he had Lenny Wilkins, Albert King, Fly Williams, a bunch of guys, but he was very famous, and his only source of income was he was a ticket scalper. And he did a lot of stuff for me. So, I mean, the age thing was good, but being around Rodney Parker really jump started everybody's career that was underneath me.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of to stay on the Charlie Villanueva part, I realized that he ended up transferring from Newtown to Blair. Some would say, or in the article that I read from 2010, it says that you were kind of one of the spearheads to that, or helped him do that.
I did it. It wasn't. It was common sense. Basically, Blair Academy had just got a new coach, Joe Mantagna, who's been there since.
Shout out.
Shout out Joe. Joe's one of the real ones in the game. But basically, what happened is, I'm his assistant coach, and the kid is walking around with a 65 average. So if he's in Newtown with a 65 average, it has nothing to do with basketball. Academically, he's not going to qualify. He didn't need to work on his game or any of that other stuff. He had academic issues. And the one that was going to tackle that problem was Blair Academy. So it just made sense for him to go to Blair Academy. He did everything the right way. It wasn't like today's day where you just show up to the school and get in. He did the application a year in advance. So he knew a year in advance he was going to Blair Academy. He hated every day when he got there, but then he loved it, because he was like, it was a culture shock, but it was something that was needed for him to be what he is today.
It seemed by the tone of that article, you kind of got a lot of flack for that.
Exactly.
Try to give us, people that are oblivious to that situation, how much flack you did get, even though you, like you just said, you did it for the academic reasons, not the basketball reasons.
Everybody has their reasons for why they do stuff. I think my reason, or even the flack that I was getting for it, it didn't really affect me, because his family, myself, and everybody that was around me said it was, a good move. everything that's popular isn't always popping. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the stuff that we did back then, not I have this thing where I say not everybody can get in through the front door of the club. Some people need to open up a side door, you know. So come around the
Word.
side, I got you. Not everybody's getting in. Charlie was one of those guys where, I felt that his academics, no matter what, I could have kept him in Newtown. He could have been one of the all-time leading scorers in New York City history or something like that. But where would he be today? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You got, I think, a lot of guys that are doing well in basketball or outside of basketball. They all have somebody look out for them. So I didn't really care about the flack or anything like that.
It's funny how you bring up or we are talking about the academic side of it, because sometimes in today's generation, past 5, 6, 7, 10 years, when guys, how you say, stay at one school,
Mm-hmm.
dominate that one school, top of the ranks in that one school, high average stuff like that, then when we find out what college they're going to,
Mm-hmm.
it's somewhat stagnant because on the back end, not everybody knows he's struggling academically.
Exactly.
And sometimes a school would take that into account and just, let's say, pour into the basketball more because
Mm-hmm.
they know how much of an attraction he is
Mm-hmm.
and what he does on the court for that school and for himself. So where's that balance, or where did New York City potentially, in your opinion, lost that balance of student athlete?
I think we still have a balance of student athlete, but at certain places they take the student part a little bit more serious than other places. Um, as a coach, you should want to see your kids succeed. Not everybody's going to make it Division 1. Not everybody's going to make it even Division 2.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to see the person succeed in life. So if you're not setting the kid up to do the right things, I think the balance really started to shift when I would probably say, I'm trying to think of, like a instance when it happened, but I would say it started to shift when a lot of people started putting personal goals above the kids' well-being.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the easiest way to explain that situation. But parents have to be on their kids, and all these guys that are coaching these kids in the summer, they'll drag a kid to a tournament, but the kid's supposed to be in summer school. So it's like
Yeah,
you try to figure it out, but I don't think everybody is bad. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think everybody is good, but you know, everybody should have a plan for the kids that they have underneath them, that they're working with, that they mentor, that they have no problem DMing 50 times to, and trying to get them to transfer to their situation and pull them out of a good situation and stuff like that. I mean, we were watching the Stepanek interview a little earlier, and it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because they said he doesn't lose kids, and that's because he cares about the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and kids recognize that, and that's what I'm saying. So there's a balance, with certain schools, but look at a person like Big O. Big O was from Far Rockaway, but he stayed at St. Francis Prep for 4 years, where a lot of those other kids couldn't.
He definitely garnered attention in other places for
Yeah,
sure.
he could have every year. It was like another rumor of Big O leaving, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
his senior year.
And it's
He's
it's
going Division 1,
it's his school.
and it's his school, and he left a legacy there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that if he makes it or doesn't make it in the end, guess what? That's an accomplishment he'll have. And I bet you St. Francis Prep will look out for him and give him a job, or he met some people that might help him out down the road.
Or his family down the line.
Exactly. So I mean, it's all about connections, but I think a lot of people just see this as me winning a game, winning a championship.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to win. One team in each division is going to win a championship every year.
Mm-hmm.
But like Stepanek coach said, if you're not winning championships and you're not putting your kids in college, what are we even talking about? It doesn't make any sense.
You think New York City, this is just on a side tip, you think New York City, the coaches, whoever that are in these situations, these communities, focus on self gratification, self adulation, or just the attention that now the media that we provide? Is that do you believe that has taken over the focus of some of these people's minds, the older minds, than just the development of the kid into a man, woman, and seeing them go far, go to college, education, whatever they want to do after that is up to them.
Yeah, you have some coaches like that, but I think there's a lot of good coaches out there. I mean, you can tell who's about themselves
And who's about,
and
okay.
who's about the kids. I mean, that's probably the easiest way to sum that one up. But I have a relationship with a lot of guys, from Kevin Hamilton to, you know, Coach Lynch and Billy Turnage and all these guys. They're all good guys, man. I mean, they all want what's best for their kids. And from a high school basketball standpoint, I think they're the solution and not the problem.
Got you. From one connection to another, I see Mr. Maurice Harkless.
Yeah, good kid.
Forest Hills, transferred from Forest Hills to a prep school in Connecticut, if I believe I'm
South
correct. And went to St. John's, became the 13th pick, 12th pick, 15th pick in the
15th
draft in 2012. How did that connection start? And I'll save my follow-up questions after you answer that one.
Yeah, Mo was a unique situation. Mo was one of the guys. I have a friend who's the coach at Forest Hills High School. His name is Ben Chopapon. So we've known each other since we were about 15, 16 years old. And I would go up there to watch Forest Hills practice. And one day I was up there watching him practice, and he would only use half of the court or whatever. And I was working out a younger kid on the other side of the court and mostly just hanging out. And then I seen a kid come in with some Fun Sports shorts on. Shout out to Ricky Rivers.
Yo,
okay. Ricky Rivers is the GOAT.
New York City is a full circle. Fun Sport been in my podcast for about. Yo, if those that are listening are picking up on how much connections this person, you continue, please.
Yeah, so basically what happened is if you wore a pair of Fun Sports shorts, you were really good, because Ricky Rivers have one of the best middle school tournaments going on back then. Ricky's now assistant coach at Canarsie. Really good guy. He still runs Fun Sports. So anyway, I see the kid walking with some Fun Sports shorts on. I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd. Why does Forest Hills have a kid with Fun Sports shorts? So I go over to the coach, and Ben knows this is the truth. I said, who's the kid with the Fun Sports shorts? He said, oh, that's Mo. I said, oh, okay. I said, what's his situation? And he said, he's lazy. He doesn't really work hard. We put him on the JV team. I said, what grade is he in? He said he's in the 9th grade. I said, let me work with him.
9th grade in the JV, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, he was about 6'3", 6'4". And, you know, I let that die down. And as time went on, I was coaching with a powerhouse team in New York called the New York Panthers. And we had a ton of players, Deron Lamb and a bunch of other guys, Javon Pinkston. And basically what ended up happening is that I kept pursuing Mo. And this was back when we had something called AIM Chat on the Sidekick.
Yeah.
This was Sidekick days. Okay?
Yeah. I didn't own one, but I definitely partook.
It was a Sidekick, and I got his screen name, because that's really the only way you can contact people back then.
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. This was real old school, man. And basically what ended up happening is that, you know, we started connecting, and I noticed that, you know, the kid was pretty good. Forest Hills coach allowed me to work with him. And then I became assistant coach at Forest Hills.
Oh, whoa. So you went from assistant coach at Newtown, the Charlie situation happens. And then.
So I wasn't at Newtown anymore.
So you ended up leaving Newtown after that. And then.
I ended up at Forest Hills. Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't like looking back at it, it looks like I knew the kid was going to the NBA. I didn't know.
That's not what I'm. Not where I'm getting at. I'm more so getting at how you're able to. I mean, maybe because you said it earlier, you got lucky, but it seems like you're in these situations not just by luck, but because you can tell.
Oh yeah, you can always tell who's a pro.
You get what I'm saying?
Or who has a chance. I don't want to say who's a pro, but you can tell who has a chance. A lot of people think they can tell. But a lot of people really can't tell. I would say there's probably 2 or 3 people I'll just say New York. There's only like 2 people that can tell you what a pro is from an early age and how to develop.
Do I know these people?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Okay. All right. We can talk about that on camera.
Yeah, definitely.
We can talk about that.
I don't want to disrespect anybody. A lot of people, because in today's times, everybody has an opinion. It's like everybody has a voice. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because some people kind of need to be quiet and let people with more experience handle a situation.
You're not wrong in that one.
Oh, okay.
You're not. I do not disagree because not everybody, not like everybody's voice can't be projected or they don't deserve to have a voice. But not every voice deserves to be on a certain pedestal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to that. But back to the Mo Harkless. Forest Hills, I see he also transferred to a prep school in Connecticut.
Yeah, Mo's situation was different than Charlie's. Charlie was ranked number 3 in the nation behind
he was a McDonald's All-American at one point.
Yeah, he was McDonald's All-American. He should have been the MVP of the McDonald's All-American game if you look at the stats.
Yeah, politics is always in that one too.
Yeah, he was playing in Cleveland. They took LeBron James as the MVP, which was we didn't think they were going to do it, but looking back at it, it's like it was so political. But
even back then,
yeah, it was crazy because if you look at the game, I want to say Charlie had like 20-something points. And LeBron and his nature, which is being unselfish, he didn't really like shoot the ball like that. He just threw a lot of assists and stuff. And then they started to realize that Charlie was going to get like 30 something points. So they just didn't let him play like the last 9 minutes of the game. And then LeBron just did. They kind of put him out there with guys where he was forced to shoot. And then he turned into that LeBron.
Yeah, because when LeBron decides, okay, yeah, screw all the rest of y'all.
He was doing triple-double LeBron until that happened. They were like, damn, we're going to end up having to give this Villanueva kid the MVP. And then that's when they said, let's take Villanueva out.
Yeah, the kid from Akron couldn't.
Exactly. But Mo's situation was different because Mo... Mo was a kid that that a lot of people didn't think was good. Charlie was was a player when everybody saw him. They said, "Oh my God, this kid is, this is like the next Lamar Odom." But when they saw Mo, they thought I was kind of stretching it. But I know Mo, and in basketball, there's certain things you can't judge. He had the skills, he had the height, the length, but he had like 2 things that you really can't judge, which is like mental, and he had a lot of heart. And that's not something, a lot of people don't understand. Mo's like a very educated kid, like a Valley Victorian type of kid, high, like mid 90 average kind of kid. And he just thinks a lot differently than a lot of people. He understood my experience in basketball, and, I was a father figure to him. His mother was working at Applebee's, and he was, home alone a lot. So we ended up living somehow. We lived like 3 blocks away from each other. So what he would do, what he ended up doing is he would come to my house in the morning, and then we would I drive him to Forest Hills, and then my job was like 10 blocks away from Forest Hills, and then I would finish my job, go back to Forest Hills as assistant coach, and then drive him back home. And that was it. We did that like every day.
Some of those situations, behind the scenes stuff, you will never really get to hear until after these young men go on to do whatever they do. You were at draft day with Mo Harkless.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I saw a picture with you with Charlie.
Yeah, me and Charlie were in the green room.
Okay.
Green room's a little different because when you're in the green, Charlie was the 7th pick. So when we were in the green room, it was different because
they knew you were top 10.
You know you're going. When you're in the lottery. When you come out the crowd, we've seen that not go well. But honestly, I don't think Mo even wanted to come out the crowd, but he went before a couple of guys that were in the green room. But it was just a surreal experience because he, a lot of people told us we were dumb for going to St. John's. He's the last first-round pick St. John's has ever had.
They gonna look to try to change that this year, but that's a whole nother story. We'll see.
Yeah, Mo, he went there. He did a one and done. He got the Rookie of the Year in the Big East, and they've never really had anybody. They've had NBA players since then: Dominique Pointer, Jakar Sampson, but they haven't had any first-round picks. And the last first-round pick before Mo was a guy named LeVar Postel.
So at this time,
Mhm.
that you're still what age were you when, I guess you can say, when Mo got drafted?
Mo
This is
got
2012.
drafted 2012, so that's what, 14 years ago. So I was 34 years old.
Okay, so at that point, right, when you're navigating these things, at one point, do you ever look around and notice how surreal the moment that you're already in?
No, when you live it, you don't really.
At any point,
No,
you never stopped and was just like,
no, because you know what? When I had Charlie Villanueva, or when he was young, Maverick Carter was next to me. And Maverick
wow,
is LeBron's guy.
yeah,
So it's like you're with these people, and everybody believes in the person that they have next to them.
yeah.
So it was one of those things where it wasn't surreal because I know just as much as they know, and they feel like they know just as much as I know. So it was never one of those situations where I'm like, oh wow, we're in the NBA draft. It's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be in the NBA draft. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get the draft done with. Let's work on getting this rookie of the year, and let's try to win some NBA championships. So it's like you think a little further than just the
Nah,
moment. Yeah, who?
you're manifesting. You're trying to manifest at
It's not
that
really
point.
manifest. It's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's gonna happen because that's your focus. Manifesting would be, I would say, more something like, I think manifesting sometimes is luck,
Okay.
but sometimes it's already written. You just gotta walk the path.
And you gotta execute.
Yeah, I got guys that walk the path, and I got some guys that thought they could walk the path, but they veered off.
At this point, when you're so now that's two. I guess those two guys are where the focus
Hmm.
with your name attached to it. I guess
Hmm.
I know there will be other kids in the mix at that point.
Hmm.
But what is Nate Blue going by at this point? Were you going by Real Scout at this point at this time, or when did Real Scout potentially become like a handle for you?
Basically, what happened with the Real Scout situation is there was a guy named Winston Kelly. He's still alive, good guy. He had a magazine back then called Game Ball Magazine, and it
Mm-hmm.
was the best magazine.
I feel like I've seen that magazine before.
Yeah, Game Ball Magazine was like
Yeah.
the slam magazine of the middle school kids,
Okay.
and not middle schools, more of like the New York City kids. Everybody wanted to be in this magazine,
Okay.
and you can buy it at your local gym. I think it costs like $5 or $10, and he had articles in there, rankings, and basically I told him, I said, I used to email him a lot back then. This is back in the days. I would email him and tell him.
So now I'm not. You don't got to be ashamed to say email.
Yeah, right. I mean, I would email him and I would say things like, Mr. Kelly, I got players around me that should be in your rankings. And I guess I was becoming a little too annoying. And he just shouted back at me. He said something to the effect of, if you know so much about this stuff, then why don't you do it yourself? So me, I was about 18, 19 years old. I got a little mad and I told him, I said, okay. I didn't write him again. And I came out with something called calling him a fake scout. I called myself Real Scout. But Real Scout actually went on. So I started posting articles online and
Mm-hmm.
rankings and showing up the video games. I'm like 18, 19 years old, but nobody ever knew who I was.
Mm-hmm.
This went on for about 7 months. I was just some anonymous person showing up the games
Mm-hmm.
and posting about it. And then what ended up happening is I think I knew it was getting big when I started to go to certain gyms and I seen people have my stuff printed out on paper and they were passing it to each other and stuff. I was like, oh, that's my stuff. Like, why do they have it on paper? I'm like, oh, this is crazy. But sooner or later, somebody figured out who I was, and then that pretty much was it.
Okay, so you go a lot of different ways with that one. But when you walk into a gym and you realize the high school people, some of the players may have a ranking in their hand or some have your work.
Hmm.
Um, was that a sense of I made it?
No, I'm not that type of person.
So what was that for you?
It
It's
was
giving like you're very humble and you're very laid back in terms of how you take credit for certain things. If I'm correct in that, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But how were you taking that, seeing like, okay, what I started is starting to catch waves now. What I'm doing is starting to make sense, not just to me but to others.
yeah, I thought it was needed. I didn't think I when you talk to Charlie or Mo or any of the other players that I've coached that have made it or didn't make it, some guys are firefighters, some guys are police officers, school teachers, and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
they'll tell you I'm super humble with it. But when I saw it, I was just like, wow, that was it. It was like it wasn't like, wow, I got to do it again. I gotta let people know who I am. That's just not
That's not your
what.
vibe, man.
Yeah, it's not about me. It's definitely it's never about me. It's about I consider myself a child advocate, so it's always about the kids. So I felt when I saw it, I said, okay, people are looking at it. That's good to know. And I was surprised to see it, but it wasn't like, okay, I gotta capitalize off of this, or I gotta, figure out how I could do. Now I'm getting calls from the New York Post and the Daily News and the Newsday and stuff like that. They want to know things, and I'm just sitting there giving them my honest opinion, but making sure I don't hurt any kids in the process.
So, uh, there was a Daily News article, just like you said, it came out in 2010.
Hmm.
But before I get to that article, there's just one, I mean, just the last thing to end off the Mo Harkless and the Charlie segment.
Hmm.
Even though these are both different situations,
Hmm.
different kids, different circumstances, how much did they affect the way that you did business in this industry? And I don't know if business is the proper word here, but how you ended up moving throughout, because based on even the article that I'm about to bring up, or even that I read in certain things, it seemed like you got flack for those two journeys and how they navigated it.
Exactly.
So with that flack that you got mixed with how the game is changing and evolving, how much of those two situations affected the way you ended up moving throughout the industry?
In today's terms, I would say those two situations really prepared me for what I'm doing now. Um, I'm in the NIL space. I'm still doing Real Scout, but
Hmm.
it it showed me, you know, that you can have a guy who's a that I can help a guy who's a top 5 player in the nation, or I can help an unknown guy and both get them to where they want to go in basketball. Now in life, I have a thing. I would say both of those situations showed me that they were both great kids. There were hundreds of other kids I coached, but in the situation with those two, they were both two great kids. So now, with me being in the NIL space, I make sure that I have great kids around me.
Hmm.
I think the kids of today are better than the kids of 30, 40 years ago. Kids have a lot. Um, when I mean better, I mean they have a lot more. You know, poverty isn't as big of a deal as it was
I see where you're going.
growing up.
Yeah.
We still have a ways to go, but I think these kids today kind of have more than the kids of yesteryear. Growing up, you go to a park, there's 50 kids in every park. Everybody's playing ball, everybody's trying to make it to the NBA. You
Hmm.
go to a park now, there's nobody in there, or there's somebody playing soccer on the basketball court because the kids have video games, they have
They have
Instagram, they have
electronics where now it takes up their time. And
exactly.
I ain't gonna lie,
So,
on the way here, I went to the barber and the little kid was getting the dreads and he was crying in the chair all day and everything, right? So then the mother, after finish, put him in the heating part, he gets out, he goes, the mother asks, "Do you want to you want to go lie down, or you want your iPad?" I want my iPad. And he wiped his eye like he's still tired though. When Longley, you were just crying because you ain't want to get your hair done. Stuff like that. Yes.
yeah, I learned in those situations that the best kids for me, I'm not saying they're the top kids in the nation,
Mhm.
but the best kids are the kids that get it out the mud, the kids that listen to their parents.
Mhm.
You look at Deron Rippey or any of
Shout
these
out
other
Rippy.
kids,
Yeah.
yeah, shout out Rip, and pops and moms and his sister, they all, they have a plan. They had a plan, they stuck with it, and look where he got. It's not like he's the son of some of these famous NBA
Mhm.
players or
Mhm.
something like that. This is a kid that he had a plan, he stuck with it. Him and his father,
He stayed
who
loyal
was
to
yeah,
those that were loyal to him at the points. Yeah.
exactly. So he's still training with the same guys, and all these visits that he's taken. I wish he could take 100 more visits wherever the hell he
Yeah,
wants
he
to
just went on
go.
his last one, I believe.
Yeah,
Word.
man, I love Rip, man. He's you know, we helped him when things weren't going his way too. Me and Mellow Films, so
Mhm.
I definitely love watching his journey. Even though I don't have anything to do with it on a day by day basis, I love seeing it. You know, that's just me. I'm a little
Just
different.
not. I'm seeing how you what the type of player you gravitate towards. I'm
Hmm.
starting to understand that and I see that. So now let's get to this 2010 Daily News article, which I found was pretty interesting. It showed some of the good sides and some of, I guess, the bad sides of New York City, and also how they feel about you, potentially or may not.
Hmm.
One quote. There was a couple quotes here. I'm gonna ask you for um, a response to some of these. One was this: some regard Blue as a key basketball insider, a friend to anyone in need of a college scholarship. Others claim up that at the mention of his name, revealing a disdain for a sometimes shadowy figure who's been accused of steering players into questionable career decisions. Now, on the first half of that statement, it's pretty good. The second half, it's more like, it's like one of those Watergate guys in the corner getting all the information and feeding it back to somebody else and letting you be the judge of that. I do kind of sense here, in a sense, because you mentioned this earlier, that you didn't really care for people knowing who you were when you started the Real Scout name and started putting things out. So as people understand who you are, and now attaching your name to different people or different situations, you're getting the ups and downs of this.
Hmm.
Um, what part of that was unmotivating, motivating at all for you to hear that from an anonymous part in
Yeah,
the
that
article?
was, you know, it's crazy because you know, a lot of people don't know, but I work at Verizon. I've been there for 27 years. So you know, I'm 47. I've been there since I was 20 years old. And I don't know, like I had went away on vacation, and when I came back, they had that article like plastered all across my job
Oh,
because, you know,
really?
everybody in my job knows what I
Yeah, yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
And it was crazy because I looked at that part and I said, wow, somebody actually said that. But I mean, that's life. You know, you're going to have people that what matters most to me is the person that you're trying to help.
Mhm, mhm,
You know,
mhm,
the article I thought was a positive article, except for a couple of quotes. But
mhm.
um, I'm definitely not looking for the number one player in the world or something like that, and trying to help them and steer them and guide them. As you can tell, most of the stuff is by chance. You know, I walk into a gym, a kid walks in with fun sport shorts. You know, I'm coaching a team that you know, some kids that ask me from the neighborhood, and then they show up with Charlie Villanueva. This isn't like
Mhm.
I went out and sought these guys. You know, I just I got a good eye for it.
When you're, because I see one another quote. I guess I'll introduce it this way. Another part of it was, I think they want to move in anonymity or in the shadows, play the background. And to my question is, why choose the background? Because do you feel like moving the way you move throughout this industry as time continued to go and go, and it seems like you already said it's not about me, it's about the kids.
Hmm.
So sometimes with that thinking, you're not putting yourself in front of a camera. You're not putting yourself everywhere the kid goes. You're just playing the background, just doing the things that sometimes the kid can't do.
Hmm.
So moving that way, do you feel like at all that was a detriment to what you potentially wanted to do at a larger scale?
I don't think I ever had anything to do with a larger scale. I was never
Mm,
my stuff was just more about, okay, how can we get you from here to there and from there to there and from there to there, and if that doesn't work, then we have a backup plan for that, and the backup plan doesn't work, we have three backup plans for that. That's sort of like how I move. A lot of people don't really understand it. I don't think I can even explain the
hmm,
way I feel sometimes when it comes to each kid, even top ranked players today or top players in our area. You know, I feel that they should be doing things certain ways. And I actually have influence where the kids will DM me or text me, and I'll just push, you know, I can't deal with everybody. I'll let, you know, I hate to say it, but I'll let some of them just deal with the people they deal with versus me reach out and try to get involved with their situations. But I'm very stern on, if you need help and you're seriously trying to just make it in life,
hmm.
I'm there for you.
You don't NBA scout, college scout, was that never like trying to get on those levels? Was that never a goal for you at all?
There was a goal at one point to be an NBA scout, and I got offered a job with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was this was 20, I want to say like 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I got offered a job with the Grizzlies. It would have been a good situation, but I felt like I was just in my current job a little too long and I wanted to finish it out. Um, right now, I have 2 or 3 years left to retire. I'll be retiring at like 49, 50 years old,
Mm-hmm.
which is fairly young. Um, I didn't want to be in a position where I would be an NBA scout and not even like a top scout. I would have been a scout that was more of like a regional scout. So it wasn't,
Not on a national scale, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like even if I worked hard and scouted for them, it wasn't like they're going to draft the guy I tell them to draft.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be the guy in the corner. I didn't think I was going to have that big of an influence. So I did have dreams of doing that. And of course, I always dreamt of coaching St. John's at the Knicks like everybody else does. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I've
Why didn't you take that chance though? At least just to see how it would have gone instead of just saying no to it.
because it just wasn't in my cards. I felt that it wasn't the right situation. Also at that time,
That was your gut feeling.
yes, just a gut feeling. Also
Okay.
at that time, Mo was in his second year in the NBA, second or third year in the NBA, and it was just one of them situations where he wasn't doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mo got into the NBA at 18 years old. Harkless,
With Portland, right?
yeah, no, he started out in Orlando.
And then they moved him to Portland.
Yeah, they moved him to Portland. He
Okay.
actually got drafted by Philly, and they traded him in
Draft
the
day
Dwight
trade.
Howard trade. He was traded to
Snap.
he was traded to Orlando. Him and Aaron Afalo went to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say who went to Philly. I want to say it was Jason Richardson and Andrew Bynum. So Mo
Wow.
he ends up going with Nick Vucevic. I
Yeah,
think that's
Vucevic.
well, it was him, Vucevic. They end up down there, and then Dwight Howard just ended up in the
Mm-hmm.
Lakers. So Mo was struggling a little bit, and I had a choice. Okay, do I care about my own career and go with the Memphis Grizzlies, or do I pay attention to the guy that trusted me?
With his career almost.
Yeah, so it was a no-brainer. I had to stick it out with Mo, and then he went to Portland, signed a nice contract, and
Yeah, I remember that contract word.
yeah, and rest is written.
um. So, how could you? At what point in your life did you choose you?
No, that's a good question. I would say I still haven't. Um,
Almost pushing 50. You haven't chose yourself yet.
no, I definitely haven't. It's a fault of mine. You know,
Yeah, some of that is upbringing, but where did this come from?
I don't know. It's everybody always tells me you're the man. You got to tell everybody that you're the man. And it's not me, man. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the guy on the internet, self promoting and stuff. Hey, I'm Real Scout. I run events, and when I run events, I don't even talk to the kids. Everybody else talks to the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it benefits me, but people don't understand how it benefits me. The way it benefits me is that now that people just see me walking around with an iPhone and they don't know who I am,
Mm-hmm.
the kids are more likely to talk to each other around me. I don't
Now,
want to
I
say
ain't gonna lie. I think
eavesdrop.
one of my first impressions, I'm like, because I always saw the posts, but I'm
Uh-huh.
like, yo, where is this guy? Like, where? That was one of my first impressions of the Real Scout page and platform. I always saw the post, but never knew who was behind it.
Yeah, that page started by accident, and shout out to Jaden Edwards and a bunch of other people, Rose at Millbank, Coach Rose from Eagle, and a bunch of other guys. But we started the whole Real Scout movement. Basically, what happened is that with Mo, he he got settled in the NBA, and I said I got to come back and start doing some stuff again in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started realizing the kids didn't know who I was. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, damn, if nobody knows who I am, what am I supposed to do? I said, okay. I said, I'm going to run a middle school tournament. I charged the teams like $125 a team. They played like 6 or 7 games every week. I mean, every week they would play a game for like 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening is that we had 30 teams in the event. and we ended up having some of today's superstars, like of New York City basketball. We had Ian Jackson, we had Boogie Flan, uh, we had a kid named Chris Bliss, we had Nas Cunningham. That I mean, just like everybody. So I used to call a lot of camera people, and I would ask them to come and videotape, and they wouldn't videotape. They were saying $100 a game. You know, that's like the standard everybody would say. So I started going on YouTube, and I tried to figure out how to use your iPhone to make it look better to post. So I started posting. I came out with a Real Scout page. I started posting in the stories. And then as time went on, I said, oh my God. I said, people are like watching the Instagram. Like I remember there was nobody on my Instagram.
There's a moment where you start realizing that
Then
those
I learned
20
how
to
to
30 started to get 400, 300.
I said, oh my God. I said, people were like watching the page. And then, you know, it still amazes me that everybody goes on there. So now the platform is basically, you know, basically what happened is those kids went on to high school. When they went on to high school, I would still watch them. And when those kids, you know, the Brandon Stores, or, I mean, there's so many kids I can't
it's
even.
A lot. Yeah, no.
Halon played.
Yeah,
you know, like it's so many guys that played in that middle school league. Danny Carbucia, Markel Alston,
PSAL Catholic alike. Talk to me. Yeah, just start naming off some of them. Yeah, let's do that right now. Let's start naming off some of the premier high school guards, forwards that we've seen in the last 5 years, 6 years, maybe even more. That was in your middle school.
Oh, please, man. I mean, everybody was loaded. But the one thing I could tell you that I knew was going to happen is, I want to say, even though there were a lot of good players out of it, I would say the best thing that came out of it was Coach Rose at Eagle Bronx.
Shout out Coach Rose again.
Yeah, Rose won a lot of championships there. Rose won a lot of championships, man. Really good guy, man. And he supported the event. Having Rose in your event meant that you were going to get all these other teams. He coached every game. He brought in his crew. He coached it the same way he coaches now. Fiery, energetic. You know, definitely loved him. I loved Ian Jackson's team, the Whiz Kids. They were out, but they started to really blow up with Ian Jackson and Elijah Chopper Moore. They played in our event. So, you know, as time went on, you start looking at, you know, the impact that we were having. But Rose, I would say, Rose is, you know, he was coaching freshmen, I want to say, at St. Ray's at that time, and he was doing Millbank. And then next year, you know, Rose is like climbing up the ladder, and now he's one of the top coaches in New York City.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
And I just want to see him, you know, surrounding myself with people like you, Mellow Films.
Oh, shit, I'm honored.
No, seriously, like, I'm a good judge of character. You know, I know that I could see great things in a lot of people's futures, and I kind of can tell by the way people move who's going to be, you know, who's going to reach that, you know, stay on track. I'll say it like that. Who's going to stay on track?
Stay consistent.
Yeah. I think when we were just at the City Is Mine, and we were in like that little hot room. Everybody was in that room.
The media room, for those that don't know.
And everybody was talking about this and that, and you were just staying there chill. I was like, yo, I got to interview with him. I said, because he's just, I could tell the convo is going to be great talking to Sway versus doing some other stuff. Yeah, I mean, just the whole demeanor. I'm like, yo, this guy's not even talking. I'm like, you know, everybody else was, I don't want to say kiddish because they're young. You know, they were having fun, but you were kind of like the adult in the room. I said, oh, this is going to be a great convo.
To speak to that, some tidbit about me, because I don't always talk about myself on my platform as much on the personal side. My parents, I have a late birthday, so my birthday's August 1st. I'm 98. So first grade, you usually start around like 6 years old.
Yeah.
I had just turned 5 when I started first grade. So one of the things, and I was in a charter school at that. So then one of the things that they told my parents was like, okay, he's a little bit slow on picking up some of the teachings. And my parents was like, he's not going anywhere. Give him some time. He'll figure it out. We're not going to leave my kid back just because it's starting out. And from that moment, I say that because all my life I've been around kids that were older than me.
Gotcha.
I've been around older people all the time. High school, people were like 2 years older than me. So it's like I was a young kid everywhere.
Yeah, man.
So I kind of picked up on older things. My dad is like my dad met my mom at an older age when they immigrated over here. So and I was in a lot of older conversations when I wasn't supposed to be as a young kid, and I always got kicked out the room. So that's part of why, at least in that situation, I was very like, yeah, y'all could talk y'all trash. I'm just gonna chill, get through whatever I gotta get to. If I need input, I'm gonna give it to y'all. But that's kind of where that comes from. And I'm not a loud guy. I
Yeah.
try not to be. I'm
That's
very on the
good, man.
I'm
That's
very on
good.
the humble side. I take my flowers whenever they're given, but I don't go looking for them
hmm
if that's a thing. But yeah, tidbit about Sway. Shout out Nate Blue.
That's good to know. That's good to know. But,
um,
but yeah, when I seen that, I was like, man, I was like, he asked me a couple of times, when we gonna do this interview? When we gonna do this interview? I said, yeah, we definitely
nah,
gotta
I
knock it
run
out.
down certain people.
Yeah,
They're,
I'm telling you, a lot of people have tried to get me to sit and talk with them, and I'm not fooling myself saying that in a disrespectful way to
nah,
the
that's
other
just
people.
the facts. No,
It's
yeah.
just a real fact, and a lot of people know, the stuff that I'm saying to you is usually stuff that I usually just say to somebody on a one-on-one basis.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of your quotes that you also had in this Daily News article that I thought was very good. Division two coaches want D1 players.
hmm
D1 coaches want pros.
hmm
When a kid hears that,
Yeah.
how are they supposed to feel?
Let me tell you something, man. I'm just gonna be honest because I'm on Sway. But if you're not playing basketball to try to be like the best player ever, what are you really playing basketball for? If you're doing everything that you got to be doing on a daily basis, if you're trying to work on your game, you're listening to the people around you, you staying on the right path, then you should legitimately have a chance to make it to the NBA. People 6'10", 6'2", 5'10". There's no if you're good, you're good. It's simple. So the fact that a person, and it's no knock to kids that end up playing D2, but if you end up playing D2, you really didn't work as hard as you could have worked,
Mm.
because anybody can play Division 1 nowadays, because there's no such thing as a Division 1 player. A Division 1 player is just a coach that feels that that player is good enough for that school. It's very simple. If the coach at Duke likes a player that plays at Benjamin Banneker and thinks that that kid can help him, that makes him a Division 1 player. He don't need no other scholarship. If that coach at Duke watches him play and says, yo, this kid could help us out. I used to do a thing, I don't do it anymore, but I would do a thing where I would take a bunch of kids out of New York City or wherever, and we would go up to colleges and work out with the colleges.
That's
We did it all the time.
that's free
At
game
certain
for real.
schools, I don't want to get any schools in trouble,
Mhm.
but we would go up to certain schools, we'd work out with them, and then when I walk out of workout, the coach would be like, yo, we're offering him. I'm like, he ain't got no offers. He'd be like, nah, but we want him. He fits what we're doing. And the other kids, when you guys are driving back to New York, I need you to stop off here, here, and here, because I told them about the other kids. That's how I used to get kids in D1. You understand? I did AAU and stuff like that, but my stuff was more like, let's get you to the situation. I never had kids where I said, oh, this kid is, we're going and visiting Division 2. Like, for what?
Mhm.
I mean, there's no knock. Division 2s and 3s and JUCOs, they come to my event all the time. But if you're doing what you got to do, you're a Division 1 basketball player. And if everybody's saying there's not a lot of Division 1 basketball players in New York City, then that just means they're not doing what they got to do.
How do you navigate knowing that this kid is a potential pro, high level D1,
Mm-hmm.
to this guy is all right, probably mid major D2 ish?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference in how you potentially navigate them? Because of course that D2 kid that's really probably D3, D2
Mm-hmm.
wants that high level D1, but his ceiling might be mid level exception. You get where I'm going? How do you navigate that type of progression with these kids?
You just have to be honest with them and let them know, like, look, you know, you're lacking a couple of things that'll make you a Division 1 player. Um, guess what? There's going to be a ton of D2s. Plenty of people have made it out of Division 2 basketball. You have to keep that fire still going with the D2 guy, and with the D1 guy. Just because you're D1 doesn't mean you're an NBA
Your spot-
player.
or
You
your spot
understand?
can't
Or
get
you,
taken.
your spot can't be taken. So
Facts.
it works either way. I mean, you look at somebody like Smush Parker. He plays 1 year high school basketball. He plays 1 year at JUCO. He plays 1 year at Fordham. He plays in the NBA. You know, it's like that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got
Yeah.
these
That's
other
hard work
guys.
too.
Yeah, he didn't have 100,000 Instagram followers or anything like that. So I say nowadays, you know, it's a little different, but I'm not one of those people that want to talk about back in the days.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So now I gotta ask you with that because I think that's very telling.
Uh,
Most of the older dudes praise the early era of basketball, and by early era, let's go with late '90s, early 2000s.
it's my era.
You get what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? And you just said out your mouth that you don't like to talk about the past too much.
Uh-huh.
But some of the older dudes in your generation would love to reminisce about those past because they feel like that era, since that era, we haven't gotten anything close to that. To that, you say what?
To that I say it's nonsense. You know, basketball is a sport. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. If they say that isn't, if back then was better than today,
Mm.
that's so far from the truth. Today's players are super talented. But the problem is a lot of adults, it's like music. I listen to everybody. Some people will not listen to some of the younger artists out there just because it's not old. It's not Biggie Smalls. It's not, you know, there's just people that are like that are stuck in their ways. I think basketball shifted a little bit with the adults. I think growing up, like I told you before about Rodney Parker and stuff like that, I think we had a lot of great older mentors. And as those people, you know, shout out to Tippy, as those people, you know, a lot of
Shout out Coach.
yeah, shout out Coach Tippy. As a lot of people passed away, nobody took their spot. You know, and when you don't have people that take their spot, they're not getting that good teaching. Now they're getting the Instagram coaches and you know, the neighborhood coaches that aren't
they in the tournament for the bag, not for you.
exactly like, yo,
Yeah.
you need to play in this tournament with me so we can make this money. And it's like, okay, is that really, you know, is that what this is about? But that's really all it is. I would say basketball today, you know, there were more, basketball's more of a global game now, you know, with the Wimbies and stuff like that.
The Giannis, the Lucas.
Yeah, but growing up, New York City was the Mecca, and we're still a Mecca because you always see everybody still coming through New York.
Very true.
They always got to play in the Slam game. They always got to play. We just had McDonald's, the Jordan Brand Classic, and Nike this and Nike that, and New York.
Jordan, the one, all this other stuff. Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not a lot of great players in Texas. There's a lot of great players all over, but New York City is always going to be the capital of basketball in the world.
Since you're on the New York City side, what part? Let me rephrase this. What's wrong with New York City from somebody that's seen the ups and downs of New York City?
I would say the problem with New York City, once again, I think of some of the adults, not all of the adults.
Okay.
I would say, you know, you look at some of these programs like Stepanak, and they have a great staff. You understand?
I'm listening.
Their staff is basically developing all these kids that they get in their program, from the freshman level, the JV level, the varsity level.
You don't hear about much transfers on the Stepanak side, if I'm being honest with you.
No, you really won't. There are some kids that do leave.
Yeah, you hear about them leaving, but like
but
terms
it's
of them
very
getting
rare. It's very rare.
they,
Like the guy that's leaving is the guy who's not really in the rotation, and he's like,
or he's probably on the second team, not the A
yeah,
team. I'm with you.
You know, some people do leave. They're not, you know, but they don't lose key players, and they continue to grow. But a lot of these programs out here, I would say, what was the question again? Because I don't want to get off track.
The question was, what's wrong with New York City? Coming from you that have seen the different
I think
eras of it.
Yeah, I would say what's wrong with it now is just everybody thinking that they're doing the right thing when they're not.
Okay.
I think that's but I'm not here to tell them what's right and what's wrong. You should have an inner compass that should tell you what's right and what's wrong. Like I tell everybody, one team is going to win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Where are your kids going to college? I run a exposure event for all these kids in April, and I'm like hounding kids. And this is not a Catholic thing or a public thing. I'm hounding coaches to get their kids to show up to an event. The event will be like $50, and I'll have like 70 coaches there. And it's like you're chasing these coaches to try to get them to send kids to your event. And it's like, okay,
It should be like a no-brainer at this point.
yeah, it amazes me. So I would say I can't ever fault the kids that show up that that trust. They don't know better. These kids are 15, 16, 17
Still
years
very
old.
young adolescents.
Yeah, they trust these adults to tell them certain things, and then when college time comes around, the adults just shift off to the next group.
You think you would have thrived or had the same impact in a different city? And the reason I ask that is because New York City can turn on you just as fast as they can celebrate you.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you've had best of both sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you grew up in a different city or you took your talents to a different city, do you think you would have still thrived and even reached higher heights if that's something you've thought about?
Yeah, I would have definitely been bigger if I wasn't in New York City. I know that for a fact. Okay, that's not even. Listen, I love this city to death, but if I was somewhere else, I'd be. Oh my God, I probably would have been inducted in the Hall of Fame by now.
What do you think has held you back from being, I guess, at that level in New York City?
I told you, everybody's the main character out here, and I know more than a lot of these people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've proven more than a lot of these people, but I don't want to be the main character. So since I don't want to be the main character, I'm not going to be sitting in the front at New York, New York. I'm not going to be.
You in the trenches with me. I ain't gonna lie.
I go to New York, New York to see what it's like, and shout out to my man Eves Jules and Mike and all those guys over there. But I go to support, and they show love, and I love it. But yeah, in New York City, you got to do too much to be seen, and I don't want to be seen. I just want to be felt. You know what I'm saying? So as long as I'm felt, that's the impact that I'll continue to have. And I mean, but if I was in one of these other states, I would have
like
been
Indiana or
oh my god,
Chicago
oh
or
my god. You know how many players I would find in
Nebraska.
Indiana? My man.
Or if you was in Maine and found Cooper Flag.
bro, if I'd have had Cooper Flag, you know how crazy that would have been?
Yeah.
That would have been crazy though.
When you think about it,
Yeah.
and, no, the way that they're pushing him.
Yeah. I wasn't a big Cooper Flag.
I ain't gonna lie.
I mean Cooper Flag. I wasn't like a big fan of his in the beginning, but it changed when he went to Duke. But before Duke, I didn't like it.
I
didn't
lie.
like his game
when he came to New York City for the Jordan Brand Classic, and I saw him and Dylan Harper have that little back and forth segment.
Uh-huh.
I said, I'm a Dylan guy.
Yeah.
At that moment, I said, I'm a Dylan Harper guy. No disrespect to Flag, but at that moment, I said, oh, okay, Flag might not be the one. But like you said, when he went to Duke,
I said, oh,
it was like,
God.
yeah.
The thing I didn't like about him, and I had an argument with a bunch of people about this stuff, was I didn't like the fact that he went from 16 and under to college. One minute I'm watching him play against New Heights Lightning back then with those guys, Halon and Connor Spratley and them. I'm watching him play them, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm not gonna, I'm reclassing up. And I had never really heard of reclassing up. That kind of threw me off. And so when he does the reclassing up, I'm saying to myself, like, okay, he's ducking smoke because he don't want to play 17 and under. So then he's on a loaded Montverde team where he's not really the man. I mean, he's the man,
he's
but,
the centerpiece,
but it's not like they
3, 4, 5.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so he's ducking a lot of people. But then when he went to Duke, it was like
you can't really duck at
Duke.
Duke.
You're not ducking. So I was like, oh, this kid could really play. There were games I was watching him out there putting the ball on the floor, and I'm just watching the full game. I said, yeah. I called a couple of people. I apologize. That's
apologize. Great accountability.
Yeah, I always apologize if I see somebody doing well. That's the second time that happened to me. It was with him and with Kyrie Irving.
You telling me you missed on Kyrie Irving?
A lot of people missed on Kyrie Irving.
Just talk about that story, please. I want to hear a little bit about this if there is something to tell.
Yeah. So basically, people close to me know the story.
Okay.
I'll say it for everybody else to understand. Kyrie was at a regular school. I don't want to say regular school, but he wasn't at St. Pat's or the Patrick School, which is called now. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't at that school as a freshman. He was at another school, and he was a good basketball player. He wasn't Kyrie Irving. He was
The magician.
nah. He wasn't like that. He wasn't like that. Kyrie wasn't like that. So yeah, everybody. If he was like that, then no, everybody
Then he would
would
have been, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So he was okay. Played against him, coached against him, and at the end of the game, he asked me. I think we lost to him by like 2 or 3 points. At the end of the game, he reached out to me, and he wanted to play on my AAU team.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him like, nah, I got too many guards because he was okay, but he wasn't better than the guards I
He
had.
wasn't electrifying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go with that.
So
yes.
I think I don't want to say I motivated him, but a lot of people motivated him because if you know, Kyrie played for a team called the New Jersey Roadrunners, and New Jersey Roadrunners is coached by a coach named Sandy. Sandy's been in it for a while, and it was him and another kid named Eli Carter,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just those two. And I'm talking, we got big Nike teams, we got big this, big everybody, all these big AAU teams, but he's playing for like this hoop group level type team. He played for them forever. And I watched them, and I watched them at the Patrick School, and I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was what he is today. And I watched him play a couple of times, and he used to annoy me at something. But see, I learned he annoyed me because what he would do is he would kind of cruise the first 3 quarters of the game. So say he would score like 4 points in the first quarter, like 2 points in the second quarter, score like 7 points in the third quarter. So when the fourth quarter came, he would just go for like 30. And he would get 30. So I was saying, why can't he do that every quarter, right? So, but then
That's a good question to ask.
Yeah,
That is a good question to ask.
But then as time went on, I said, I think the reason he's not doing it every quarter is because the game is always sort of close, and then he would just put it to bed in the fourth quarter.
And
So that was the first time I ever really saw that because you grow up watching Michael Jordan or whatever,
Mhm.
and those guys do it every quarter. They finish with like 60 something points. He would just basically go crazy in the fourth quarter. So what ended up happening is that he had a real good senior year. He made McDonald's All American, and I ran into him. He knew who I was because I wasn't really like a big fan of his. I ain't gonna front, I was like a hater, but not online. I would just like say things, and I think it got back to him. So we were at a tournament called Portchester CYP, which was a real big. It was a 1 day. It wasn't a 1 day tournament, but it was a single game elimination tournament. And I ran into him, and he was kind of like avoiding me. And I went up to him and I said, "Hi, my name's Nate Blue. I'm Real Scout." He said, "Hey." He said, "Yeah, man, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good." I said, "Yo, I just want to apologize for all the years of when I thought you couldn't play." And he said, "Yo, that means a lot, man." He said, I read your stuff, and the fact that you came up to me, that's much love right there." And I said, "Congratulations and much success in life." And he went next day to the McDonald's All American game, and that pretty much was that.
See, another thing where it comes into like the miss or the disconnect between the older generation and the younger is that some older dudes can't do what you just described.
You have to. You have to. But there's not a lot of older people that are like me because if they were, you'd be interviewing them. They're not. I don't want to say I'm unique in my thinking, and I don't know. I guess my mom's just raised somebody different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, now this is the part of the interview pod where actually before I get into it, this is how could I miss this right here? Next Move Plus.
Oof.
Next Move Plus.
Yes.
Agency that you are a part of, you're a vice president and a partner. I would like to give you the platform and the time to describe what Next Move Plus is. And because based on what we've been talking about already, I kind of see what it is and why we got here. But for those that don't even know, please describe to them what Next Move Plus is and how you ended up getting in with them.
So basically what I started to realize is that I was helping a lot of kids and handling their situations, but basically pushing them off to people that didn't really have as much knowledge as I have. So the reason we came up with Next Move Plus was to help kids, make their next move, plus more. It's basically we're a management company. Uh, I'm the vice president. The president is a guy named Brandon Thomas. He's the coach at a school in Dallas, Texas, which is
Oh wow.
Nike's.
I was thinking it was gonna be somebody in New York City.
No, he's a Nike Scholastic coach in Dallas, Texas.
Shout out you, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, really good guy, man. He basically, we got together. We decided to put together something that would help kids, not necessarily 5-star guys, but guys that needed, guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And we started in April. We got about 5 or 6 guys. We got some really good prospects, but mostly we have really good kids and good families.
I saw Mr. Tyler Francis was one of those people.
Yeah, Tyler Francis. He's going through a little bit of adversity right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke to him today. He's got a game today against Harvard, and he hasn't been playing a lot. But the one thing about Tyler is he's very resilient, and most people in my situation, 2 games into the season, you know, he played 6 minutes his first game, and he played 3 minutes his last game.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a talk, and the talk basically was just like, listen, it's not, you can't control what that coach is doing. The coach doesn't know you. You're a freshman. He's got 6 or 7 freshmen on his team. But what you can control is getting up extra shots, talking to the assistant coaches and finding out what do I need to do to get on the basketball court, continuing to be a good teammate. And I'm not going to be calling the coach and begging him to play you, or why isn't he playing? And a lot of parents and adults, that's what they get into. But with Next Move Plus, we have constant communication with the parents, the player,
Mm-hmm.
the coaches, and we're not looking to get 100 guys. So I'm vice president. What we do is we do basketball and football right now, and women's basketball. So I know I can't help 100 kids because I'm vice president. I have to sit in meetings with football players, and we have Brandon. Like I said, he's in Dallas. I'm here. We have consultants, which are people that work for us and bring in their own players and get a percentage of that.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people that don't know, in the NIL space, the average is 20% of what you're supposed to charge your client. We charge 10%. Out of 10%, the split.
You're talking numbers now, yeah.
Yeah, the split is different. 10%. It's not. I'm basically working for free. If a guy makes $100,000, I'm getting $10,000. I got to pay taxes on that. I still got to get to the games. I still got to do this. I still got to do that. With the players, we're showing them how to lower their tax bracket for the money that they get. We're showing them, just everything that they need to be doing. The pay structure. We have everything mapped out month by month for each individual player that we have on how to help them survive in the new NIL space.
How hard of a process, or picking up that level of weight in terms of your daily things that you do, how much has that affected you in a good way, bad way, hard way, knowing that you're probably doing 1,000,001 things and then you just picked up this project?
In the beginning, it was a little overwhelming, because I'm not really a talker.
Okay.
So that's the thing that threw me off, is I was sitting in video meetings with people, and I feel sometimes that I shouldn't have to sell myself to a situation. I feel that people kind of should know what I'm about, but it's like you have to repeat it and let people know, hey, I'm Nate. Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've had these guys in the NBA and stuff like that. So I've gotten pretty used to dealing with a lot of parents in the last 3 or 4 months. I've sat in so many of these meetings, but it's basically all around our schedules. Like I said, we got people in South Carolina, people in Orlando, Florida, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Georgia. So we all get on conference calls once a month. We discuss different prospects and stuff like that. I don't necessarily chase after every kid in New York City because not every kid is my kind of kid. I don't mean they're not good basketball players.
Nah,
Kids are
character
committed.
kids.
Yeah, it's more about character. It's all about who really wants to take that journey, what family wants us to take that journey with them, and I think that's what we're doing with Next Move Plus. I got a player. It's funny. I got a player up in Connecticut, a 6'10" kid. His name is Jacob Lomicha. He's a senior in the class of 2026. A lot of people don't know him, but they're gonna know who he is in a little while. He's he's a 6'10", like point forward guard.
Okay.
From Czechoslovakia. He's
the overseas.
Yeah. He's got one of those kind of games, man. He's very orientated. We talk a lot. We're friends, man. So I think with Next Move Plus, I think we're gonna be one of the biggest things in the country in a year or two.
Would this be, I guess, the last question on Next Move Plus? Would this be considered your legacy move? After you're done with, you said, I think earlier you said you're going to retire from Verizon.
Yeah.
Verizon was your old job. So once you retire from there, I know you're still going to be entrenched with the grassroots and the different types of stuff. But was that like a legacy move? Like, okay, once I'm done with this, I can now focus all my attention here.
Exactly. This is the I don't want to say the end game, but this is what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm doing something I haven't been doing.
Very true. Very true.
You understand? If you listen to half of the stuff that we've talked about, I've been basically an NIL manager my whole life, without even trying to be one. So I say this is going to be one of the great chapters. The only thing I'm recognizing is that a lot of people know I know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But they choose to still go the other way and deal with other people on situations that I ask them about just because out of spite. And then when those kids don't become successful in life, they'll just walk away like nothing happened. Where me, there's plenty of players in New York I've spoken to, I would say about 5 or 6 guys that have chose to not take the olive branch. And I'm cool with it, because I had a guy tell me years ago, if you deal with me, that shows what kind of person you are. And if you don't deal with me, that shows what kind of person you are. So, I mean, I'm happy to help. Just put it this way, if I reach out to you and you turn me away, I don't hold it against you.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that I know that I tried.
Yes, sir. I just need to run. We preaching right now.
Nah, thanks, man. Thanks.
We preaching. This is now, as we wind down, I ain't gonna lie, these podcast interviews I've been doing have been getting a little longer lately. I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to cut it at like 40 minutes to an hour. Now these days I'm getting an hour and a half, 2 hours kind of thing. I guess it shows that we're flowing. So I guess to end off how we doing things, I'm gonna go a little rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you certain questions. I'm gonna try to see if you can answer these in a not very short amount of time, but try to keep it concise for me. PSAL Catholic, why or why not?
PSAL Catholic, why or not? I would say, wait, against each other?
As in, okay, I should have put more specificity to that. Because I know they started the PSAL versus Catholic League stuff these past couple of years. So,
okay.
In terms of which one could produce better for a kid? Because we've seen kids. I can't remember the last time. Maybe you can. Seen a kid go from PSAL high major college and potentially pros.
Mm-hmm.
We see that a little bit more with the Catholic League side, where they could potentially go mid major, high major, and after that is a toss up.
Mm-hmm.
To that, which side do you think sets you up better for your long-term future as an athlete?
I don't think it's about public school or Catholic. I think it's more about the coaching. I think if you pick the right coaching and the right program, I think public school has some real good coaching.
Mm-hmm.
To name a couple of guys, I would say like Kevin Hamilton. He's been producing not only Division I players, but he's doing it the right way. Kev got there and they weren't there. They weren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Kev has been doing great. And then when you look at the other side, you have people like Gary Irvin at Nazareth, who's, he's a underrated coach, very outspoken to some people. But to me, I've known him since he was 15, 16 years old. So he's just regular old Gary to me. So I would say on both sides of the spectrum, they have some good coaching. I think it depends on the player. I think if a player needs some structure, they should definitely be playing on the Catholic school side.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the player is a little bit self-reliant, and could get things done by themselves and they're great academically and stuff like that, then
the
you
bus
can
driver.
you can go to public school. You don't always have to go to Catholic school. So I see both sides. Josiah Jervis is great
Mm-hmm.
at Stepanak, and Jada Swan is great.
Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, if you flip flop them, nobody wants to say what would happen. But would you say Josiah Jervis will have less structure than Jeff? And it's
Yeah.
just
because Jeff has their own level of structure. Just people just probably wouldn't understand it.
Yeah,
or
people
know
don't
about
really
it.
get it. Yeah, I think you got to know the player.
Okay.
I don't want to draw it out. So if you ask me public versus Catholic, there's a lot of good public school coaches and players, and I think there's a lot of good Catholic school coaches and players. But public school has a very big advantage over Catholic school.
I seen you drop something on your YouTube page. I don't know if that was a new thing or recently in terms of the YouTube page, but you dropped a 02 or 03 game. Telfair, Gary Irvin, Roberson, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
He brought the VHS tapes out.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Was that the best game you've ever witnessed? And if it wasn't, can you give me one or two?
Wow, that's a good question. What's the best game I've ever witnessed? That wasn't the best game I ever witnessed because it didn't finish.
True.
I don't know. We see so many games, man. The best game I ever witnessed was probably Stephon Marbury winning. I hate to say it because it's an older game.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Marbury winning a championship at Lincoln as a senior because I was there, and I'm a little younger than Steph. I want to say like a year or two younger. But I remember that being like, I don't know if it was the best game, but it was the best atmosphere.
It's something.
It's one of those atmosphere games that you're at, and you're like, yo, I had never saw Stephon play before.
Oh, so okay.
And then I was like, this is what an NBA player looks like. I would say that, and I hate to say it because there's another Lincoln game, which is kind of crazy. Sebastian Telfair, senior year, I think it was against Gary Irvin, but it was he sold out the Garden. I didn't think back then high school games didn't really sell out. Like Marbury's game didn't sell out. I know that because I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But that game with Sebastian Telfair, who I always say is the best high school basketball player I've ever seen out of New York City.
To this day still.
Yeah. There's nobody that was better than Sebastian.
Just checking.
I hope, he does bounce back from all this stuff that he has going on now. Great dude.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, great dude. I actually coached him his senior year at IS8. Dwayne Tiny Morton called me and said, hey, I know you got a team at IS8. I don't have a team this year. Can Sebastian play with you? I said, yeah, but my game is this morning. Tiny called me like 7 a.m. I said, yeah, the game is going to be at 9:30. And he said, don't worry, he'll be there. I'm like, it's like 7. I'm like, he's not getting from Coney Island there. I walk into the gym at 8:30. He's in there with some Timbs on and some jeans and no shirt shooting around.
A New York kid will definitely show you he's from New York.
I said, yo, how did you get here so fast? He was like, his girlfriend went to St. John's, which ended up being his future wife. But
look at life though.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's tough.
So he was already in Queens. He was like, yeah, my girlfriend wants to go to St. John's. He was like, yeah, I just pulled up. He said, I saw you on the schedule, so I wanted to play with Real Scott. I said, no problem. We had a good IS8 team, but like a couple of guys were missing. We ended up losing. And then after we lost, that's when the high school season came up and they started shooting through the fire. So I should have been in it, But I don't think we made it far enough in IS8 for me to be in it, so I don't really care. About
Okay. I guess this is a follow-up rapid fire, but
Yeah.
was Lincoln the best stretch
that.
a school has had that you've seen? And if not, then who?
Lincoln had a really good stretch because Tiny was assistant coach with a guy named Bobby Harstein. Tiny was his assistant when I first met him. So Tiny coached the younger Marbury. His name was Zach Marbury. After that, Harstein left and gave the job to Tiny. Tiny then had Sebastian for 4 years. I want to say he probably won like 3 or 4 championships with him. Then he had like a gap, and then that's when he got Lance Stevenson. And then the run goes on for another like 4 years. Then he had another small gap, like a year gap, and then it was like Whitehead.
Yeah. I was about to be after Lance, you gotta get to Whitehead.
So it was like even the years where it was like the gap, he still was getting to the final with whoever he had transferred from another school. Like he would get like the best player from, I hate to say it, but like Grady or something like that. They would transfer to his school, and then that gap year before the next guy got there, he always had a good team. But I would say him, Rice.
Yeah, I hear about Rice a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Rice was unbelievable. Rice was.
That was uptown.
Yeah, Rice was on 124th Street.
That was before my time.
No. Rice was like
they shut down 2010, 2012.
I want to say, one of the last guys out there was Shane Softwell. So I would say, like around
when I was going to high school.
Yeah, like 20. No, but Rice was different.
Yeah, somebody told me.
No. Listen,
I'm gonna let you.
Listen, Rice was different. Rice, if Rice didn't shut down, Rice would have never slowed down. Rice was different. Rice was real good. Christ the King. I would say like the schools back then that had really good runs were Rice, Lincoln, Christ the King, St. Raymond's. St. Raymond's has always been solid.
Yeah, word.
You know,
when I check the history books, they're in there.
Yeah, St. Ray's, but that was pretty much it. Holy Cross was always a good school. Bishop Loughlin used to be really good.
Yeah, too much transfers out though.
Yeah,
but,
as far as New York City, those were like the schools. It was always Rice and Lincoln, and then Jersey was always like St. Anthony's and St. Benedict's and St. Pat's. Those were national powerhouses. Those schools were always top 25 high schools in the nation. And if they weren't in the top 25, they were just outside of it on the bubble. And I'm talking, they all had players that were going high major. They all had pros or, really good talents. And they all had great coaching.
In terms of the Rice thing, I was at Fordham for Catholic League stuff this past playoffs. I'm not going to say what game I was at, but the guy walked past the media section. Of course, he was sitting front row. The guy goes, "I'll tell y'all one thing right now." He was talking to somebody in the stands, but he was also saying loud enough for us to hear. He goes, if, because he had on a Rice shirt, he had on a Rice hoodie sweatshirt. The guy goes, "I tell you, if this school was in this right now, none of these other schools would even matter." And I looked at him, and he looked at me. He goes, "Trust me, if this school didn't shut down, New York City would look completely different."
You know what Rice was? Rice was like, and it's no disrespect, Rice was like the Dykeman of New York City basketball. They were like, it was like, it was like everybody was there. Like, whenever Dykeman does something, everybody shows up. They were the Harlem uptown school. Everybody went to Rice. Everybody went to play for Rice. Everybody went there. They would have 9 Division I players on the team. That's insane. With three young Division I players backing them up. Like, that's what Rice was about. And they played fast, up tempo, and people knew not to mess with Rice. And I would also say, also public school wise, no disrespect. Um, I would love to shout out Paul Robeson High School back in the days used to be real good. Paul Robeson had a real good stretch, and believe it or not, Ron Niclario. You know, you don't win all those games. You know, Ron is the guy that I'll tell you one thing: if Niclario can never make it to a championship game again before he retires, he might win, because Ron is the only coach, and everybody can say what they want to say, but Ron has a playbook to stop every school. I mean, I've seen Ron give people fits. I mean, like, it sounds crazy because people are like, oh, Cardozo's not that good. Yeah, but if you play Ron in the championship game, he knows every play you're gonna run. He's one of those kind of guys. He's
now, how many years he's been that coach?
He's been coaching over 40 something years.
I feel like I've seen a post where it's about to be 50 or something.
Yeah, he's almost at 1,000 wins.
Just fire.
Yeah, you know, and
then there's kids that probably don't even know how much of a coach he really is.
No.
Even probably his current kids, they don't know.
Yeah, they don't. They think because
they just think he's another old.
Yeah, that likes to you know yelling, do a lot of talking and yelling. You know how kids.
Yeah. The 3 to 5 players, mid-level to high-level D1 should be looking at right now, out of New York City.
That nobody knows about,
sure.
or that people.
Give us a mix.
I would say
probably 2 people that people already know about, at least on the New York City side, and then 3 people that not much people would have known if they're not in New York City.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Jada Swan is being very under-recruited.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially after the year they had the year before, and then now it's like.
Yeah, he didn't have a great
first 2 years.
Yeah, first 2 years. I mean, I've known him for a while since he was playing JV at South Shore.
That's where it all started.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like when you see a guy come from the bottom and you see to where he's at now, it's like you know, he's got a couple of faults in his game, but he does a lot more stuff than people give him credit for. I would say he's super under recruited. I also think Hunter Frazier is real good.
And he lost the weight.
Yeah, man.
Hunter, I'll tell you this right now, Hunt. When I seen you at City is Mine and probably a couple other things before that, I said, wow.
Yeah.
Like when you know what a kid looked like before, and he went into the summer and had a goal, whether it was parents, coaches, whatever, y'all did what y'all had to do, and he stuck to the plan. Clearly.
Yeah, I like Hunter Frazier a lot. I like the kid Boogie or whatever at Eagle Bronx.
Oh, Ace.
Yeah, Ace. I like
Ace. Amir Cummings. Yes. Yes.
I like Amir. Amir can really hoop. I think he should definitely be getting looked at. I would say I think a sleeper, but it's going to take him like a solid year and a little bit of physical maturity. Is the other kid at Eagle Brooklyn, Dockery.
Amir Dockery.
Yeah, I like Dockery a lot. And Dockery is a great kid, man. Like I talked to Dockery, you know, we conversate. He's a throwback kid. You know, he's one of those old souls. He would be good in no matter what decade he played. And a lot of these kids wouldn't. You know, him.
I can agree with that statement, yes.
Josiah Jervis, those kind of guys are good all the way throughout. You know, some guys are good for now. You know, I would say those are some of the sleepers. It's crazy. I named 2 guys from Eagle Brooklyn and 1 guy from Eagle Bronx, but I'll hit you with 1 kid. I like a kid named Peyton Wilson. He goes to Holy Cross.
I know the name. What does he play? Is he a big?
Yeah, he's the big kid at Holy Cross.
Dreads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sophomore.
Yeah.
And they have another sophomore named Devin Bay that's real good.
I like Devin.
Yeah,
I do like Devin. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, Devin Bay is nice, man. I've known Devin forever. His father was a real good basketball player, actually, as far as his high school. But you know, this is New York City. One of the players with the highest upside, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on, though, believe it or not, is Malik Fields.
Shake my hand. Because Malik Fields, because I remember So of course with my Nas stuff that I've been going on, the first game that Nas played in the AA was against Cardinal Hayes,
Okay.
and I believe Malik Fields was a part of that team. He had the long hair out still, and he was just a shooter at that point. He was just a shooter that sat in the corner or whatever. He had to wait his turn.
That's what I'm saying.
And then me seeing him at Smart Ball recently, not even rewind a little bit. Last year's Catholic League playoffs.
Yeah, he was going crazy.
That was kind of like his breakout run a little bit.
He was going crazy.
And then this summer at Smart Ball, I'm seeing him and Lil Heck run their backcourt. I'm like, no,
Lil Heck.
this is a problem.
Yeah.
Malik Fields, I ain't gonna lie, he could really score the basket.
Nah, Malik Fields is real good. Him, Amadou Barry, a couple of guys
Oh,
that have over there, Little Heck.
Yep.
They got something brewing over at Hayes.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You know, Hayes is definitely one of the schools that I think a lot of people are going to sleep on and see them somewhere in the semifinals.
They shouldn't, because they had their recruitment years already.
Exactly.
I ain't gonna lie, they had it after losing Ian and Chaba and Mel and all this other crap. They've been able to just keep it moving.
Yeah.
Stay under the radar, but now it's about to be their time where they might make some real noise this year. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm real big on Hayes. I think Stepanak, there's a reason they play the game. Stepanak should win the championship, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Oh, okay. I mean, we might as well ask this question right here. Like we said earlier in the pod, we were watching their Baseline Banter episode. Al Shep, Pat Massaroni. I'm sorry, I'm missing the other coach's name. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting at the moment. 3 chips in a row.
Yeah.
They're looking for number 4, and on that podcast, they feel like the field isn't really much to talk about. Who's finishing in second was the running joke on that.
Yeah, I think they're more humble than what they put out there.
Because they have been quiet for some time, so I guess that was their talk trash moment. Which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I think that was just a talk trash moment, but I think they take everybody seriously. I mean, a blind person could just pick Stepanak. I think it's going to be a couple of teams that are going to be in a running this year in Catholic school. I think Stepanak, of course, is the clear-cut favorite, and I think Holy Cross is going to surprise some people. They got a really good young team and great coaching. A lot of this stuff comes down to coaching. Stepanak has great
Turnage
coaching.
Has created a culture over there.
Exactly. Yep. You know, Turnage is a real good coach. I love Cardinal Hayes and what they got going. I love the young guy, Avion Rodriguez.
Yeah, freshman.
Yeah, freshman. He's real good. I think those guys, I also would never count out St. Francis Prep. With Big O.
Yeah.
So, and then Gary got them together at Nazareth, and they got to believe whatever he's telling them.
People believe I'm biased on the Nazareth side. That's fine with me. But
No.
I know what I saw at City is Mine. I didn't know how I felt about it. But after that second game, I'm like, okay, I see the vision.
Yeah.
So some of them are mad at me. I haven't been over there for too long, but that's another discussion.
No, I don't think you're Naz biased. I mean, that's one of the teams that you cover because that's sort of like your local team. But
no, they're literally like 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault that.
For those that didn't know,
I'm biased towards basketball. I don't have
good basketball, good hoops.
Yeah, I don't have a favorite. Of course, you want to see. It's like I said, it's easy to just pick Step. Like, okay, Step, and everybody else play for second.
Yeah.
That sounds good, but that's not reality.
Never
You know what I'm saying? Because last year everybody picked Step, and then they had to do a comeback victory to beat St. Ray's, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
if we're being very honest, they were supposed to lose that game.
Yeah.
It was just bad execution in those last 2 minutes, and usually the team that executes better down the stretch wins. So
exactly, like the Kyrie earlier. Yeah, like we were talking about Kyrie earlier. He would execute
fourth
great
quarter
in the fourth quarter,
execution.
right? Like, come on, man. So what I'm saying with Stepanak is like, yeah, they can have all these players, but they can only play 5 at a time. The one thing about the Catholic League where they have a huge disadvantage, and this is why I think it'll get closer as the season goes on, is that you got to constantly keep playing the same teams. So if you keep playing Stepanak, okay, cool. They beat us the first time by 30. They beat us the second time by 17.
Something's going to click.
Yeah, look, they beat us by 17. Okay, now they beat us by 9. Now we're in it. So it's like you play them twice sometimes in the regular season, then you get them once in that archdiocese thing, and then you get them in the city title.
So you're starting to realize what play calls mean this, what spots
what's
guys like to go to,
exactly.
what they don't like. It's a series now.
And another thing you got to remember too is in the Catholic League, these guys have been playing against Stepanak for 4 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we've been losing to them for 4
And I'm
years.
playing you twice before we even get to the playoffs already.
Exactly. So it's not like this is a surprise. You know, I think Stepanak is going to probably run through New York City, and as the playoffs come around and people start facing them 2 or 3 times, I think things are going to get closer. That's just how basketball is.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like if you walk up on somebody and you punch them in the face, right?
They know not to. They on their guard.
That's the first time. The second time, you might put your hand up late. The third time, you already got your hands up. So I think with Stepanak, yeah, how many times are they going to just keep punching somebody in the face and knocking them out cold? It's not going to happen like that. But it sounds good, though. You know, it just sounds good. But I love Stepanak and what they got going on over there.
Yes, sir.
I hope they reach their goals of winning a championship again.
That would be even crazier history if they were able to pull this off.
Yeah, that would be unbelievable.
I ain't gonna lie. Okay. How would we? I guess this is a proper way to end this off. If you weren't doing what you do right now, what would you be doing in another life?
It's a real good question.
Sometimes you got to save the really, really, really good ones to the end.
Being honest, if I was in another life, I would like to think I'd be doing something positive the same way. But, you know, statistics show I might not be doing something positive. You know what I'm saying? So
I feel you on that.
I think, you know, having a full-time job and helping kids and being involved in the sport has sort of saved me. So I think in another life, I would like to think I would be doing something positive, but I really can't answer that question.
Is there a moment that potentially with a kid, because I remember you brought up the Kyrie situation, is there, if that's the answer, then we can move on, but is there a moment where you regret saying, I did bad with that one?
Yeah, I don't think with Kyrie, I really did bad. I think that it just didn't make sense for what I was doing at that moment. But I don't think I think one of the craziest moments, I never told anybody the story, is when Sebastian Telfair was in the 8th grade, I tried to convince him to go to Blair Academy. And
with Joe Manteca?
Yeah, Joe had just got there.
Okay.
So I wanted him to play with Charlie and Lou all day. And what ended up happening is that he took a visit to like Christ the King or something like that. And he decided to go to Lincoln. And his brother, rest in peace, Danny Turner, spoke to Danny, and I told him about the whole Blair situation. And they really weren't feeling a prep school situation because of the whole New York law and all of that stuff. And it worked out for him.
Damn, that was a question I had to think about, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was the whole New York allure. And I just basically was like, I love, you know, Sebastian. I think he got out of New York City everything that he was supposed to get. I think Tiny treated him right. I think he's still to today the best New York City basketball player I've ever seen, because everybody would say, well, this guy's better or that guy's better, but who else went straight to the NBA out of New York City as a 6-foot point guard and got picked? There wasn't no politics on that. That kid was the best point guard.
No politics.
Yeah, there was no politics on that one. The NBA don't care about politics unless you're 6'10" or Greg Oden or something. He was the best point guard. They said he couldn't do this, he did it. They said he can't do that, he did it. You know, it was he was unbelievable. You know, he was Sebastian, and like I said earlier, I hope that he finds his peace and he practices the best move in basketball, which I call as a pivot. Hopefully he can pivot his way out of this situation into something that's
gangster, not even on no lapping tip.
Yeah, because you know, he was a very good basketball player, and you know, he had some good moments and bad moments, but I think if he learns to pivot the same way Lenny Cook and a lot of other guys did, like Al Shep, I was telling you earlier, who's
Mhm.
at Stepinac, who was a real good basketball player at St. Francis. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen something go bad, but I really did want Sebastian to go to Blair because I knew if he played with Charlie and Dang and been around a different culture,
It would have, yeah, it
it
would have
would
helped
have
him out a
affected
lot.
his life.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he still would have went straight to the NBA
And have that story that he,
that he had.
yeah.
You know, and a lot of New York City kids, they want that story. There's still kids today that want that story that he had. And, you know, a lot of people think they invented the game, but they didn't. You know, people were making these mistakes and all
Yes,
types of
sir.
stuff
Yes,
before,
sir.
beforehand. So
What would, what is your biggest accomplishment right now? What do you want to be remembered by, or is there something you've been remembered? Is there something you've done that you want to continue to be remembered by? If not, what do you want to be remembered as?
I just want to be remembered as a, like I said earlier, a child advocate, somebody that always had the kids' best interests at heart. Um, I don't think I should be judged on the players I coached that made it to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I should be judged on the players I coached that didn't make it to the NBA. You know, I think I should be judged in life by my effort and my willingness to, like you said earlier, you know, when you were in school, you were one of the youngest kids in school. So I believe that the kids or parents or whoever I have around me, even with Next Move Plus, that I'm maturing them, helping them understand the landscape, understand their situation, because we could sit here and talk about 400 guys that I've coached or helped out throughout the years,
Yeah.
but the one constant is me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I just want to be remembered as somebody that actually you never had a doubt if he cared or not.
Yes, sir. Who should be sitting in your seat next or in the future? You could give me one person, a couple people. Who should be interviewed on this platform?
That's a real good question. I would like to see. I would definitely like to see. You're talking about coaches, right?
Either or coaches, players, whatever. If you feel like their story needs to be told or they need to tell their story, this is your time to send them an invite.
Yeah, I would definitely say. Definitely say Kevin Hamilton, who I said earlier.
Checked him off. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
Yeah, we interviewed
You
Kev.
did?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think this is like last year though. But.
Okay, Kev. I would say Pat at Step.
Pat.
Yeah, Pat definitely needs to come up. Um, I would definitely say hmm, I would say there's a lot of good, interesting people that
Hey, if you want to just start naming them off, go right ahead. I will not put a cap on it. I like to hear what other guys feel like. Okay, this person got to be here. Like if I like this platform, I think this person would also benefit from this platform.
yeah, I definitely think I would say I'm trying to give you like somebody like super unique that you probably wouldn't think about. Um, I would say Coach Lopez at
Same
at St.
race.
Ray's.
Okay.
Lopez is he thinks a little bit differently than a lot of people.
Yeah, I've had some couple of conversations with him as well. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Coach Rose. You know, anybody that I mentioned, I think would be good.
Okay.
But I think one of the people you should probably sit down with, who would be a very good person to talk to, would probably be. It sounds a little crazy. I would say probably Smush Parker. His journey from playing to being a referee, and I think that's very unique. And believe it or not, I would definitely tell somebody like Sebastian Telfair to, whenever he's home or if he's home, to reach out and this is something that I think would be therapeutic and get a chance to really tell his side of the story of what's going on, since he's easily the best high school player I've ever seen in New York.
Yo, if you're any one of those people or if you know any one of those people, send them this clip. See how they feel. Just saying. And now this is the time where I let the guest, whatever you have on your chest. I know we spoke for about, I ain't gonna lie, we literally hit the 2 hour mark just
For
now.
real? I
Nah,
didn't
literally,
even
because
know
we
that.
started at like 3:30 something. It's 5:30 something. So we just hit the 2 hour mark, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you tapped in from the start to end, or if you came in parts, then that's fine too. But this is the time, Mr. Nate Blue, Real Scout. Anything else you have on your mind? 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 15, whatever. This is your camera. You can go right ahead.
I would like to let everybody know that if you put your mind to it, you could definitely reach your goals. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. All that stuff that everybody says, but reality is you control your destiny. Don't let anybody else control it. Surround yourself with people that are in line with what you have going on and what you're trying to accomplish. Understand that education is important. Though it may not seem like it, a lot of people don't want you to know that education is important because they can take advantage of you down the road. So my advice to all the kids, all the parents is surround yourself with people that have your best interests at heart, and look forward to seeing you guys make it to the top, if in hoops or in life. Be good.
And I would feel very underperformed if I didn't ask you this last question before we leave.
Go ahead.
How many high-level scouts, D1 coaches, D2 coaches you got in that phone of yours that consistently call you and be like, or text you and be like, yo, Nate, who should I be looking at for my school in New York City?
Oh, that's like an infinite number of people. How could I do that?
And on that note, you don't even got a number. You can't put a number to that.
How?
Nate Blue, ladies and gentlemen, Real Scout. At this point, I don't think we had
Were
to
you
say anything.
serious?
I was very serious, but also,
No, man.
since you gave... No, I had a feeling you would give that reaction. So that's why I asked the
What was I supposed
question.
to say, like 100? I got more than 100 people calling my phone, bro. That was funny, though. I like that one.
Yo, Nate Blue, SwayReportingLive One Sitdowns, Real Scout. Hopefully you learn something about this man
we ain't
that
doing
you
another
didn't
interview
know.
for like 10 more years.
You know what I'm saying? Hope we be blessed for another 10.
Yeah, definitely.
And we reach new heights in those new 10.
Exactly.
But this is SwayReportingLive One Sitdowns. That was Real Scout, Nate Blue. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you tuned in for all 2 hours and probably 5 minutes. And we're on to the next one, man. Stay blessed. Stay black. Stay true.
Good shit, bro.